have the ability, not to interrupt, moderator, but you still have the ability to vote. Well, I mean, obviously you don't, but if you were in America, he's actually, whilst he has suspended his campaign, he remains on the ballot, and he has said, I'm going to stay on the ballot. You know, I want to still get delegates. He's not releasing his delegates to Biden. He's keeping the contests that he won because he wants to influence the party further and keep influencing the Biden campaign. So you could still vote for him, but obviously his campaign is suspended, so he's not campaigning.
He did endorse.
Yeah, he did.
Biden. So he's basically, even though he's still on the ballot, he's telling people vote for him.
Yeah.
Like saying, I'm here and I know I'm better.
yeah.
I'm not gonna win, so go for that guy. Which I don't know. I'm like, probably is a sensible thing to do, but at the same time, as a person that would be more keen to vote for someone I believe in, for the person I believe in to not believe in themselves, really, I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think, Ruben?
I think it's interesting because it's like during all the debates, the Democrats were often on about unity and fight, like who can beat Donald Trump, and I think like Bernie stepping down is kind of like, okay, like we can access more like socialist ideals and universal healthcare down the line. I think it is more kind of down, like, it's, as much as I hate it, it is kind of important that it's kind of like the Democrats have a very strong candidate that's supported.
Okay, cool. There's a thing in America called the Electoral College, which you may know about this if you were paying attention in the 2016 election, which actually Adam and I saw together at the Students Union.
We did. I felt like such a traitor having to step in there to watch it.
Yeah. But, it was me, Adam, and everyone from Uni Off.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, no, it was fun. But basically, we were just watching the elections happen. And basically, the Electoral College represents... Hold on, I have it written down here. Each state is worth a number of electors proportionate to its representation in Congress. The sum of its senators, every state has two, and their representatives in the House, determined by the populace. So the six biggest states are California, Texas, New York, Florida, Illinois, and Pennsylvania. So this means that even in the Electoral College, having a majority of 270 out of the 538 votes makes you able to win the White House, between parentheses. I'm doing it in my hands. I don't know how to say it. So in 2016, Hillary actually won the popular vote. So she won by the amount of votes by people, but she didn't win the electoral vote, and therefore she didn't win. Also, Al Gore also lost this. Al Gore.
Al Gore. Yeah.
I'm thinking of Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot.
Wonder Woman didn't win in the 2000s, but and Hillary didn't either. But yeah. So, what do you guys think about the popular vote and Biden and Trump?
Mentioning Wonder Woman.
We have Clark Kent, you know.
I think that the thing is with the Electoral College is it's obviously this idea that was made to preserve the rights of Americans in smaller communities, to protect their rights from Americans in big communities. Like I said, I wrote my dissertation on this, and at the start of it, I was probably in favour of it, but whilst I was getting into the dissertation, I became unsure, and the outcome actually that I concluded to was that I think it should be scrapped. The problem is, of course, is it's going to be so difficult to do that because it's laid in the Constitution, and to change the Constitution, you would have to have basically a public vote on it, like in terms of states. So I think it's 2/3 of states would have to sign up to it. Which is obviously a significant number of 2/3 of states would have to vote, 2/3 of the Senate as well. I think it's just not going to happen. Like it's never going to happen, unfortunately. But I like I said, I actually think this time the Electoral College came to an end, because I just don't think it works much anymore. Because, like you said, the people of the United States voted for Hillary. It doesn't matter if obviously, if we look at the state of Ohio, for instance, the populous areas, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus, Toledo, those areas very high in population. Compared to somewhere like cracking, I've got to remember the names of the towns, like someone like Barberton, or even the smaller towns, like a Carrollton, those tiny towns where it has 1,000, 2,000 people living there. The idea is it protects the people of Carrollton to the people of Cincinnati. But at the end of the day, if the Electoral College was abolished, every single vote would be equal. So it wouldn't matter if you lived in a small or a large town. You're an American. You get one vote for one. You get one vote in one election. It's very simple. It should absolutely be abolished. The problem is, of course, it's just impossible to do that. And I always suspected actually that this could happen in this election as well. It happened in the last election. It's no surprise. It could definitely happen in Trump's favour again. Obviously, only time will tell. But I do think it's time to abolish the college.
I agree, but I think it just also opens up a lot of corruption. So it's really hard to get millions to vote in your favor if you buy them off. But when you have 500 people, it allows another level of scheming. Maybe I watched too much Scandal, but that's what they do. You just talk to people and you convince them to do things for you because you promise different things. And it's a lot easier to convince 500 than it is to convince 500 million, or I don't know how many people live in America. I'm really sorry.
It's about 350 million, I think.
300 million. So it's easier to convince 500 people than 300 million. And I think it's an accurate statement. What do you think, Ruben? Now that I told you about the Electoral College.
One count vote should be for one person. But at the
end of the day, don't we have people that represent us? Because sometimes as a society we can't represent ourselves. I'm just staring.
Well, no, the problem with that is obviously, when you vote for Congress, you vote for your local congressman. In a congressional election, just take the Texas 12th district, for instance. In Texas's 12th district, it's basically like it is in Salford and Eccles. Like it's the first past the post. You get the most votes, you win. It doesn't matter what percentage you get, you just win. And that doesn't happen here, unfortunately, in terms of the Electoral College. In terms of the Electoral College, it's first past the post in the state, and then as soon as you get to the state, then a group of people who represent the party that won the most votes will then go on and influence the wider support. It's not fair. Like it's inherently unequal. It's actually a very negative system to have if you look at it like that, because it's not first past the post. It's not whoever gets the most votes wins. Like there shouldn't be a first place. The first place medal should go to the person who won the race. The runner up should then get a silver medal, and then the bronze should go to the third. In this case, the silver goes to the first. And actually, if you do the calculations right, the person who came third could easily still win the presidency as well.
Yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair at all. And yeah, the people should be represented by their vote. Like, it's not that hard. I think maybe it made more sense when people didn't vote as much. So when you had a less amount of people voting, but you still have a strong population that was still part of that state. So like you still need to represent. I think it makes sense when you have to compensate votes, if that the voice of people. So if only 10% voted, even the 90% didn't vote, we still need to think about their belief system. But when voices were not being heard, but now we're in a time when people are voting. So we need to let them feel like they're actually having a say in their politics. I'm so funny. I know you guys are like bursting with laughter.
I'm about to laugh.
I know. Don't worry. So we discussed whether Biden, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
We discussed how Biden was actually a decent candidate. Do we think he can win against Trump?
I think he can. I think if we were talking about Bernie Sanders again, and would he have been able to win Off the polling says he would, but the campaign will always be different, and Trump would have very much gone on the offensive of his socialist ideas. He said he was lined up with all the ideas ready, and he would have destroyed Bernie in a lot of the ideas, in a lot of his socialist aspects. And Americans reject socialism. It's just the general, ever since the fall of the Cold War, it's just been a general fall of the Soviet Union. Sorry, it's just been a general idea that Americans reject socialism. So when Biden comes along and he's much more moderate and much more appealing, he was always from the start the best person to take on Trump, and he still can be. But like I said, he's got to work on that public image. He has to work on that public image because it's just starting to dip a bit. But I do think he absolutely can win, and I think it's possible. But I think he can win. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like you can work on it. Like obviously, people have nostalgia for the Obama era, and because there's obviously less politics on the internet for a start, and then I feel like it really depends on how he campaigns, because I don't personally. I know it's like I don't like the campaign basically being defeating Trump, but I have to acknowledge that's probably how to get the public perception in his favour.
Yeah. That's basically going to be his tactic, and it should be his tactic actually, because it's always the tactic of the opposition candidates. Obviously, in 2012, I think Obamacare had just been introduced, and at that point, that was very much what Mitt Romney. He went on all sorts of different. I think it was 2010. Obamacare went on was a popular thing. Mitt Romney went for it. He was very clear that Obamacare hadn't worked, it failed, and he was getting ready to use that as the offensive. And the economy had tanked at that point, globally as well. Obviously, they were steering through a recession. So Obama had a tough teammate, and Romney was polling in the lead. He did very well in the first debate, but in the second debate, he was exposed on stage for getting a fact wrong by the moderator, and then in the third debate, Obama had him again. So he tanked. Unfortunately, his image was really good at the start, and Mitt Romney was guaranteed to beat Obama. But unfortunately, midway through the campaign, when they were going through the debates, there was that turning point, and he tanked. He never recovered from that moment, and that's why Obama won again by quite a decent amount, quite a nice majority. So it's going to be very similar to what this is. It's going to be your image, and it's going to be how you look. You can't compare the two. They're so obviously different, their personalities, but it is still possible, obviously, that they could one of them, Biden could lose or he could win. It's not a given, but he has to win on that persona.
How do you think, Ruben?
I'm here for the memes.
I think we all are at this point.
Yeah, it's like if it's as entertaining as 2016, then I'm all down. But once I start thinking about this properly, I'm kind of it's exasperating.
Yeah, I think, back in 2016 even, we were all joking around thinking Trump would win. In fact, we debated this at the debating society.
We did, yeah. I remember.
People stood up and left. It was a controversial debate. Yeah. But I think to an extent, as a public, as people in different countries, we were not looking as American politicians as something that could directly affect us. And now, seeing the way Trump has behaved with a lot of international affairs, even was at the beginning of this year when he was tweeting people were scared about World War III. I think the meme culture has actually made it a lot easier for us to understand the repercussion, maybe not for you, Adam, but as at least someone like me who is not as involved with politics or not my own, within the countries that affect me, it helped me a lot to even the Twitter culture to just understand the repercussions to my existence and why I should be more keen to learn.
Yeah.
So thank you, memes, for educating us. Lovely. So this is a more controversial question, but who do you guys think should win and why?
Go on, Ruben, you go first. I need to
I'm so
think.
sorry.
No, it's hard because it's like I don't really have like an idea of like policies that I can name off the top of my head and compare and contrast. Whether I'm basically just going off personality, and that's not how to choose. Like,
It's
so
a
obviously I'm not.
movie.
I'm not. Yeah, it's.